Welcome to part 4 of our Taiwan and Palau trip. This is our second full day and last day in the Taiwan mountain. Because we'd seen Alishan National Park the previous day, we decided we'd go for a drive and see some sights along the other highways. The goal for the day was a viewpoint we found on Google Maps a ways down the highway. We're thinking a couple hours, and we were hoping we would see a few viewpoints along the way and maybe go for a hike. As we left our hotel, the tea workers were getting ready to go to the next field, and you can see they had their hats and their bags ready to go. The first part of our route would retrace our drive to Alishan National Park that we did on the previous day. We started out at 7-Eleven to get a couple snacks as we thought there might not be restaurants along the road. This time driving by, we noticed that this was the police station, and these were the only police we saw in the mountains the entire time we were there. Since this was a road trip day and we wanted to see viewpoints along the way, we stopped at a viewpoint that we'd passed up on our way to Alishan the day before. Interestingly, when we looked at Google Maps, this bridge in the valley was a tourist viewpoint, and I have no idea why, as it looks like just a regular old bridge. A little ways up the road from the viewpoint, we saw a bus and a scooter stuck behind it, and then the scooter proceeded to try to pass. However, as it was taking the scooter so long to pass, we saw a monkey stopped, looked at it, and then kept going, and the scooter still wasn't around the bus yet. We caught up to the bus a couple minutes later, and the scooter had finally made it by, but we're not sure how long it took. It was probably a good 45 seconds. After some entertaining scooter on bus action, we stopped to get some gas. We wanted to get gas here because we weren't sure where the next gas station was going to be because the mountains of Taiwan could be pretty remote. A little ways farther up the road was our next stop that we had marked on Google Maps. From what we researched, it looked like a pretty easy little place to stop, and it didn't look like it had a lot of stairs or anything to get to any place. However, we didn't realize this was just the bottom observation deck that didn't really have a view, and that there was a ton of stairs up to the top to get to the actual observation viewing point. When we got to the top, we saw who belonged to the cars in the parking lot. It was a couple groups of older folks, all bundled up for the cold. You'll notice I'm not bundled up because it's still well over 60 degrees at this point. It was also a beautiful sunny day, so I thought it was spectacular weather.
Okay.
Not far past the viewpoint, we passed by the giant cypress tree again, and shortly after that, we saw this fire truck coming down the road with the lights on. The fire engine wasn't going anywhere, they just drive around with their lights on, not quite sure why. This little remote spot has a beautiful view out to the valley and a hiking trail. We probably could have stopped here and had a nice little hike, as it looked like it was an old railroad trail and it wasn't too hard. However, we thought we might get some hiking in at the top of the mountain, so we kept moving. A fair bit of driving farther up the mountain, we've finally reached the Tataka Visitor Center. We were following Google Maps directions which told us to park up this hill, which you can't, so we ended up doubling back and going across the street to the actual parking area. As usual, there were excellent maps of the surrounding area that showed you all the hiking trails and parking around. We had thought we could go for a hike on one of the other trails, but when we get to the visitor center, we found out that actually you have to take a shuttle bus to get to any of the hikes. Those shuttle buses also required a reservation in advance, and it was about an hour wait to get to the next shuttle bus. Because we weren't equipped to hang around for essentially 4 hours between waiting, driving up in the shuttle bus, taking the guided tour, and coming back down, we decided that this wasn't the hike for us today.
Here. Oh, look! This is a mountain.
It was still a nice walk up to the visitor center and we spotted a stick bug on this sign. This is the first time I ever saw a stick bug in the wild, and it was pretty cool because Melody didn't even realize it was a bug. On our way back through the parking lot from the visitor center, we stopped to see some of the views from the parking lot, and we stopped to use the restroom where there were a bunch of tour buses with old people from Taiwan. It was around 60 degrees with a little bit of a chilly wind, but it was still shorts and t-shirts weather by my gauge, especially since it was sunny outside. However, the old folks on the tour bus were all bundled up wearing multiple layers and jackets and hoods. I got quite a few stares as I walked back to the car, probably because I was the only white person around and also because I was in shorts and a t-shirt. Okay, so we're about, 8,900 feet in the mountains, and where we're staying at the 7-Eleven, these things get all poofy because of the high elevation. But it's even extra poofy now. It looks like it's going to explode. You can see like it just shakes around in the packaging because it's like a balloon. So we just thought this was really interesting because it's like we haven't even had this happen on planes. This is just weird. Leaving the Tataka Visitor Center, we were about 2/3 of the way to the viewpoint we had picked out for our end of our trip. As you might have seen from the animation on the map at the beginning of the video, the roads out here are quite twisty. It wasn't a bad drive, but it would have definitely been more fun on a small motorcycle or scooter going through these really tight turns and narrow mountain roads. We thought it was interesting. You can see there's multiple concrete structures coming down this hill. These are basically water channels that help during heavy rain, and it looks like they keep the hill from sliding down. After a couple hours of driving, we finally reached the viewpoint that we had marked on the map. After we walk around a little bit, we'll give you a little update on what we thought of this viewpoint. Hello, we're on our second full day in Alishan, and we're checking in because we drove like 2 hours to get this observation point. What's it called? Yushan. And it's just a overgrown rest stop with a closed bathroom. And the only people here are construction workers. And there's almost no view. And the viewpoint's overrun with cables and stuff that they've built as if no one ever uses this viewpoint anymore. So Google Maps led us astray, and the 5-star reviews were full of garbage. So we're just checking in because we're now heading 2 hours back through super windy roads. Again. Hopefully we'll see some more monkeys.
Hopefully.
But yeah, that's it. We're just checking in because we were a little disappointed with our stop. Yes. Bye. Okay, quick update on poofy bags. We just came down to a rest stop that we stopped at, but the bags of chips are now less inflated. They're still a little bit inflated, but we came down so far in elevation that it's almost like a regular bag of chips again. So this is just poofy bag inflated status update before we open the chips and can't do it anymore. Bye. While the viewpoint was pretty disappointing, we did get some cool things along the way back. This rest stop had a couple people doing some nature photography of birds and squirrels, and I happened to get a couple of decent shots of some squirrels while we were there. There was one downside in that half of this area was closed due to it being unstable, so it really wasn't very far to walk around, and we didn't want to disturb the other photographers, so we packed up and headed out. You might have noticed by now that we've had several construction sites in the video. There were quite a few more than you had seen, and we ended up on the way back at one that was a really long wait. On the way down, we had entered a transition lane where you had one lane closed and then a pilot car taking cars back and forth. We didn't have to wait for it, as we had just arrived as they had started the pilot car. What we didn't know was that there was an hour wait in between the pilot car going back and forth. On the way back, we got there 5 minutes after the pilot car had left going that direction. That meant we had a 55-minute wait in a tunnel just for the pilot car to come back because they were doing construction on the whole road at that point. As frustrating as the trip was starting to seem, on the way back just after Tataka Visitor Center, we ended up at a parking lot and saw some monkeys. I pulled over quickly, trying to stay away from the monkeys to not scare them, and got out and ended up with a ton of photos and videos of the monkeys. one stop with the monkeys made lugging around my giant 100 to 400 lens for the whole trip completely worth it. We were there for a solid 20 minutes, and every time I got a little bit too close, like more than 10 feet from the car, the warning monkey started making the little chirp noise you just heard from the ones on the side of the road to let me know that I was not welcome there. By the time we got closer to our hotel, it was about mid-afternoon. We had only had some snacks and hadn't had any lunch yet, and we decided we would go to Feng Shui Village, which is just up the road from Alice Scenery Hotel. They had an old street there, and for some reason, a donut shop that Melody had bookmarked. Anything labeled as an old street on the map we knew was going to be a little bit of a tourist trap. We didn't realize just how much though until we got there and had to drive about a quarter mile past the entrance to the village just to find some parking. However, we were very lucky in finding parking, as in someone had just pulled out and we would have had to park much farther if they hadn't. We had two primary goals. We wanted to go get some donuts, and then we also wanted to go get some lunch. However, this donut shop in town was apparently so popular that they would often sell out, so we decided we would go there first and then get lunch afterwards.
Oh, do we go here? Look, the pineapple looks so pretty. Smells good. Okay.
Oh, there we go. After a few twists and turns, some really weird artwork, and a little bit of downhill, we ended up in the back of a really long line for the donut shop. I stood in line while Melody went down to validate that it was indeed the donut shop because we couldn't even see it from how far back the line was. You can see a ton of people walking through town with these pink boxes from the donut shop. After somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes waiting in line, we got our donuts and then headed back up the very steep hill to go find some lunch. Although I was starving at this point, I couldn't help but stop and take a picture of this really cute kitty and this doggy with a sign. The dog had just walked up and laid down in front of us in the middle of the street, and it has a sign that basically is an advertisement for one of the local shops. If you ask me, that's probably the best mobile advertisement you'll ever see. Watch it! There you go. Jesus. You keep trying to hit stuff with it.
Okay, come on. Smells really good.
It's the orange wine stuff that they have, sweetie.
You sure? I think it's a
Let's cookie.
这是一个，可以试试。别问我，快点。
然后米珍酥脆不粘牙，wasabi 是招牌。
Our final destination for the day would be a bento box place in a hotel just to the right of us here. We ended up getting drinks from the lady to the left of us here for lunch, and that would wrap up our day. After this, we just headed back to the hotel, got socked in by fog in the evening, so no more sunsets, and headed in for early night.
That's where we had.
Mm-hmm.
This is convenient.